What were we going about?
Nazis built the pyramids, the aliens started the Holocaust. It's just...
We're talking about serial killers today. They're ghosts.
It's only going to get worse from here. Man, it really sucks that we're only down to one microphone because the fucking board messed up.
That damn board.
I know. We're going to have to get another one so we can have individual boards and not have to deal with all this extra shit.
Put a sticker over that broken port. That way you're like, oh, can't use that port.
Well, what's fucked up is that it's not that old. It's not even a year old yet, and it got fucked up somehow. I don't know how it got fucked up, but it did. But
I'm telling you, when we switched rooms, you dropped it or something.
Must have. No, I didn't drop it. I don't know. But
Anyways.
Welcome everybody to the Calling Couple. I am your host Gage, along with my beautiful, lovely, wonderful co-host
Sage.
And today we are going to be using one microphone. We'll probably be using one microphone for a while, but you know what? It doesn't sound that terrible because it picks up both of us pretty fucking well.
Yeah, because he's loud.
I am. I'm a loud motherfucker. But being a loud motherfucker, being a loud motherfucker, won't you go ahead and leave us a comment down below of your favorite episode or what you'd like to hear us talk about, but make sure that you leave us a thumbs up so we know that you are enjoying our shit. But also, if you really are enjoying our shit, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want other people to hear the shit that we're talking about, because, you know, you like it, they might like it, so give us that fucking share so people can get on here as well. But you can also follow us on other platforms of hearing little snippets and shit like that over on our Instagram or our TikTok. We don't have a Facebook yet, but we might do one of those one of these days. And yeah, if you would like to leave us a more in-depth story of things that you've experienced over your time in your life, leave us an email at the Calling Couple Pod. pod@gmail.com. You can tell us all the shit that you hate or like about us over there, or just some good stories. We'd love to hear from you. So now that we're done with that, we're gonna get into the fucking bitching of off-grid living. So yeah, we are gonna be talking about off-grid living today, and honestly, I'm so tired of seeing these videos of off-grid living.
Yeah.
The definition of off-grid living, people, is to have no access to anything that is on a grid that is controlled by government societies or society at all. It is literally to have nothing but to be able to live off of what you have there around you.
Yes, and you know what is a grid? The internet. The internet is totally a grid.
Yeah.
I would roll closer, but there's a crickety underneath me.
Well, get closer. Yeah, it's literally to be off a grid, completely off of a grid. And some of these videos that we've been seeing of people that are like, yeah, we're living off grid and shit. And it's like, you're really not. You're just living fancy, or I wouldn't say fancier, but you're living a homestead with minimal shit or a lot of shit that you are just like, you know, like my thing is that what you said was about how people are like, yeah, we live off grid, but you're able to post videos, you're able to have internet, you're not living off grid.
Yeah, you have an IP address to post your videos from.
Mm-hmm.
That's on a grid. Your IP address is on the internet grid. You exist on a grid, the internet one.
Yep.
I want to turn the microphone on.
Yeah, go ahead. I honestly don't understand it. Like, I'm living off grid. I'm running my place off of solar panels. I'm running my place off of backup generators. I'm running my place off of this. I'm doing this and that. And it's like, all that is actually things that you could be doing. Like,
and another thing that peeves me a little bit that I saw in some of the videos. Man, that microphone's working really good. It's picking up my clothing.
I know, right? Go ahead.
This one couple was doing a video, and they were doing a tour.
Mm-hmm.
And she had seasonal decorations up.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I recognized them. They were from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just like, you go to the store. Like, you go, like, in Hobby Lobbies are in major cities, you know? So I'm like, if you're having to go to the store to decorate your house, like, that means you go to the store a lot. It means you probably go get your groceries at Walmart. I mean, like, you're living on a grid if you're having to go to a chain store and buy stuff for your house.
Well, and they could also make the argument, no, I shop online. Well,
that's on a grid. Like, you're still shopping at a big financial, like a
corporation.
Yeah, you're shopping at a big corporation. You're not fending just for yourself. You're not living by your means.
Mm-hmm.
Like, living off-grid is living by your means alone.
Yeah.
Like, not living outside of them.
Yeah, and that's something that does irritate me too, because we were watching it and they're like, oh, well, we have our setup this way. We have to go down and get our water and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's a little bit of a chore, but you know, it could still be on a grid, or if it's in a well.
They're like off-grid with modern technologies where everything's like low flow and all that kind of stuff, and we have to collect our own water and stuff still and all that. I'm just like, my grandma and grandpa live on grid. Like, they live down the road, and I remember them doing that. And they didn't claim they lived off-grid.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, sure, we have to, like, collect water every now and then and stuff, but, like, you know, we have the internet, we have electricity, we have gas. And I'm just like, and they don't claim that's off-grid. These people are claiming this is off-grid.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though, is, like, if you really wanted to live off-grid, I don't think people realize living off-grid means absolutely no connection to anything. No connection to a gas bill, to powers, to even people. Like, you really are off grid. You are living on your own.
Because we live in America, you will have always one bill. Your taxes. Like, you own land, so you're gonna pay taxes still. So, unless you go get that farmer's tax thing and all that, but then you'll have to abide by those rules too, which is on grid and all that kind of stuff.
But you still have to pay taxes on that. You still have to pay your taxes on the land. The farmer tax just helps with your everyday necessities to run your place, but you still have to pay your taxes on it.
Yeah. So, no matter what, no matter how far off grid you get, there will always be that one bill.
Yeah.
Like, you will never not owe money to this fucking government.
Well, and another thing is that people don't realize is that when they say, oh, I'm going to go off grid, I'm going to get away from the government, I'm going to do all this and that, I'm going to go get me a piece of land.
Yeah, if you have a bill besides taxes, you're not off grid.
Well, and what I was going to say is no matter what, no matter like, oh, I went and purchased this land, so I'm away from the government, all this and that. You're not. Because if the government really fucking wanted it, here's the thing, guys, is that if the government really wanted your fucking land, you don't have a say-so to any of it. Well, I own the mineral rights. I own the property, all this and that. Government can come in and take it anytime they fucking want. They can fucking sit here and say...
Is that bullshit? Yes.
Yeah, it is bullshit. Because you have no right to any of this at all. You can say whatever you want about how, oh, I own this and that. But if the government really wanted to, they could say eminent domain and fucking come in and take it. And there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it.
Yeah,
you'd spend all your money fighting it in court, and they're gonna still say, "To tough shit." Yeah,
I mean, like, they do have to have a good reason, but the thing is that they'll offer you money first. Like, they'll try to do it the quote unquote nice way first, but in the end, they're going to get that land. Like, sadly enough, they'll ruin it first. You know, like, good example in our hometown. They wanted some land downtown. And so they built up dams and all that kind of stuff. And they didn't fix waterways. And so downtown suddenly, in a 5-year span, became a huge flood zone. It's because no one wanted to sell their land down there. It's like, oh, we live downtown. Like, this is a good place to live. And it really was. It really was. But the city wanted that land. So they didn't fix any of their shit. And so that became a flood zone. And so they declared eminent domain over it because it was too dangerous for people to live there anymore. And their purposeful neglect is what made it dangerous. And so then they got to claim eminent domain. And
now that they've claimed the land, it is now parks. It is now walkways. It's now no longer a flood zone.
Yeah, suddenly not a flood zone anymore. Hasn't flooded since they declared eminent domain.
So, yes, they will find ways to get what they want, and they will make it miserable for you to where you either say, okay, I give up, or, yeah, I've got no other option. And it's fucking stupid. And this is just small-town government that kind of did this.
Oh, and if you want to know why, it was because of mineral rights. It's because the people, the families living there were getting too much, they were getting all the mineral rights for the city's wells and stuff. So the city wanted to own their own wells, and they wanted to own the mineral rights for their own wells. That way they were seeing every penny. So they had to get the families out of there.
Now, that's as far as we're going to go on as a political aspect, but we just wanted to let you know that, yes, that no matter what you do, you're never going to own a goddamn thing. You'll never own it. So saying that you're off-grid doesn't mean that you're off-grid, because if you become something that they want, they're going to fucking come get it. So don't ever think that you are completely free of that. If you want to fix that shit, you need to start fighting against it and go and getting people riled together to go take it to the Supreme Court to fight that eminent domain bullshit. And that way we can be done with it. But until then, you don't own a goddamn thing. Ask the Native Americans that you are around. They'll tell you that same shit. So, but going completely off grid, like we saw this one that really fucking killed me, is that they tried breaking it down of what eminent, or not eminent domain, but
we're stuck on that word.
Yeah, the off-gridding is.
Yeah, here's what off-gridding is. It's where you don't rely on these public bills.
Mm-hmm. And so they basically were just like, oh, okay, so gas. We don't want to be on a gas grid, so we run off of propane.
Yeah, we don't want to be on the natural gas grid. So you know what's a good replacement for natural gas? Propane. that is a natural gas.
And I'm sitting here just like, okay, but that's just natural gas that's put in a small container for you to use to run around. Like I don't understand. And they're just like, well, we live off of propane and all this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, so do most people.
Yeah, like so do we. Like, it's just on a grid.
Well, ours is on a grid, but if we wanted to, we can just get a massive propane tank, sit it out in the backyard, like most people that we fucking know do.
Yeah.
Like we have one right next door that we could fucking do that with.
Yeah, because, like I said earlier, my grandparents used to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we're like, it's still that you're just not on a grid, and so you're still relying on the same necessity. Their thing is like they had solar panels. A lot of people go with solar panels, and I'm like, I get it, but
there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons.
Yeah, like
the cons just outweigh it for him.
Quit trying to be like Jimmy Carter, all right? Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the fucking White House, trying to get this whole thing of natural free energy and shit. And as soon as he was out of office, they took that shit out of there. They're like, nah, this is fucking stupid. And he got so many people onto this stuff, and it turned out to be fucking horrible for people. But solar panels, you want to know why? You go figure it out.
Okay. I thought maybe you...
But I'm trying to get away from the politics and shit. I'm just saying that there's people that have gone solar panel and say they fucking hate it. Because if there's any damages or something goes wrong...
Well, that's what I meant by why.
If there's so many things can happen. Remember, these things are glass. That anything could happen. A bird could drop something, a pebble, and it fucking break it. Then you're screwed. These things are not cheap. They are fucking extremely expensive.
More sturdy than that.
They probably are, but I'm just saying, any little damage happens to it, you're kind of fucked now. Now you got to replace it.
Where we live, we know for a fact that a good hailstorm does ruin them.
Yes, a hailstorm would fucking destroy it, and that's where people just like, yeah, I mean, sure, does it save you money in the long run? Maybe, but that takes years of time of having them to get it to go there. Mm-hmm. And so now you're just sitting here just like, well, man, I'm having to rely on other shit, because now they're relying on backup generators, which, by the way, backup generators take gas and diesel to run.
Yes. And the things you're saying are also making me think that that's a lot of fucking work.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of things that people who are this... we have not figured out the word for this yet, but like... It's the glamping version of off-gridding,
mm-hmm.
You know, which we're thinking that's what homesteading is the glamping version of what people think off-gridding is.
Yeah.
So we call it homesteading because that's the proper word for it.
Yeah, and my thing is that if you're saying you're off-gridding and you're using internet, you're using all like solar panels, shit like that, you're really not off-gridding. You're just finding other solutions to things that are already available to you.
Yeah.
And which is fine, I get it, but being completely off grid, you need to cut ties with all that. Like literally go off of the natural sunlight that you have.
If you say, oh, I'm off gridding with all modern technologies, then you're not off gridding.
Yeah, you're not off gridding.
If you have all modern technologies, that's not off grid. Because you're using tech.
Yeah, you're literally just homesteading with. I don't know how to put it. Like I really don't. You're just homesteading.
Yeah, you're just homesteading, period.
Like off-gridding, you would find ways to make your own candles. You would find ways to make your own food and shit like that, like what homesteaders do. But you're just not having anything around you. Like, off-gridding is literally going out into having nothing around you to be useful
and
convenient.
Yeah, these glam off-gridders, they were using propane to do their fire for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
But the husband can't go out and chop wood?
Yeah, that's something that I noticed too. That I'm just like,
I thought, like, fire. You know, like, fire. You know, like, that's gonna save you so much money. I mean, yes, it's a lot of extra work. That's the thing is that people don't realize how much extra work it is to go off grid. To even homesteading is incredibly a lot more work than all of the modern shit people do when you rely on it.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, I don't understand, because we've been kind of doing some more research about this off-gridding thing, because we've thought about doing off-grid for years.
Yeah,
even back when we were doing our first homesteading, we were just like, yeah, you know, we want to go off-grid one of these days.
And we've decided that that's for the apocalypse. We'll off-grid when the apocalypse happens.
Right, when there's absolutely nothing there.
Yeah, when there's no other option, we will off-grid that.
But there's tips and tricks and things that you can do that if you're homesteading, you can just do it for yourself, and then there you go. You're benefiting yourself a lot more with what you can do on these simple things than trying to go completely off-grid, because it honestly, going off-grid is a mindset. It is a thing that you have to have.
That's what you were saying earlier. I really liked that.
Yeah, it needs to be something that literally drives you. Like, if you are ADHD, you do not want to go off-grid, because you would forget. Off-gridding is so much work that you have to do, and if you get distracted so easily...
Yes, and there is an order to it. Like, if you don't do it in a certain order, in a certain way, then you're not getting this thing done in time to do the next thing before winter or before summer hits, you know? So if you don't have the right mindset for it, it can be very, very difficult, and you will give up.
And that's where it's like, we've noticed with a lot of people that we've been watching of homesteading or going off grid, is that they're uprooting their entire life.
Oh yes, yeah.
They sell everything they have to go out and do this, and honestly, you don't need to.
My thing is they uproot and go far away from wherever they were before. I'm just like, why are you leaving everything you've ever actually known? Like, I feel like the most important thing if you're gonna homestead or to off grid is to know your terrain. Yeah. Number one, and so you just completely change terrain. I'm like, have you ever lived in the mountains your entire life? I live on the plains, and it's like if I sell everything right here and go live in the mountains off grid, I'm gonna be fucked in 3 months.
Well, and an upside for me on that is the fact that I grew up here in Oklahoma, but I also lived for several years out in Oregon doing Boy Scouts and shit, which really helped me learn how to survive in the terrain, how to fucking know my way around it.
Yeah, you would do great there. I would not.
Right, but I have the knowledge of both areas, and I'm not saying I'm a professional in Oregon, because I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of things I can learn out there. Like, there's still a lot of things I can learn out here, but I know enough to fucking be able to get through for a little bit to continue to figure out more shit. Here's a great example. If you were to know everything out here in Oklahoma, okay, and then you move out to Oregon, Northern California, where it's thick woods, Appalachian Mountains and shit.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people are going, is the Appalachia.
Which
stupid
is very, very fucking...
The people who live there are thinking that's not where you want to go if you've never been here before.
Right, and going to deep woods and shit is very hard, because if you don't have the basic survival knowledge, not even skills, but knowledge of how to navigate,
you can build your skills. Fucked. You can always build skills. But having a base knowledge is so important. And all these people thinking like, well, we'll learn when we get there. No.
Anybody that's grown up around woods and trees and forests and shit will tell you can be on a path and go off path, say 15 feet, spin around 10 times, then try to find your way back. You get lost immediately, because you have no idea unless you know how to navigate. And that happens a lot, and a lot of people go missing every year in the Appalachians, the Rockies, the Redwoods. People go missing, hundreds of people go missing every year by doing something that simple of like, oh, I see a flower over there, I'm gonna go pick it, and then next thing you know,
it's thick in the Appalachians too.
Yes, and
people
so
going missing.
That's why I say the basic knowledge of knowing how to navigate is gonna help you out. People can move here to Oklahoma and not know which way north is, and that's like when you're in trees and stuff, it's actually kind of easy depending on your environment and like what you have around you that you know only. Like moss. Moss typically grows on the north side of a tree. So you're
not very mossy around here in Oklahoma. Though,
right, but like if you're around trees that have moss, even if it's grown around the tree a little bit, you can see where it's mainly started.
It'll angle.
Yeah, so now you know, okay, this would be mainly north, so I can go in a certain direction that I need to. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's 100% fact, but it's a common one that most people can use. Yeah. But here in Oklahoma, it's not mossy. There's no moss. So you really have to know your sun. We have to use our sun out here to tell us which way north is.
It's Oklahoma, so it's actually pretty simple.
Right.
That's why we do it.
But, yet again, I learned all that in Boy Scouts. And it's the same. You can use the same technique out there in Oregon and Appalachians is, well, when the sun rises, it rises straight from the east. So now you know, okay, that's east. So if that's east, that must be north, because if I'm looking back behind me, that's west. Now you can get turned around and be like, oh well, north south.
Yeah.
Either direction you're going.
At noon time, you could be a little bit confused.
Right, but either direction you're going, now you know I'm going north or south.
I'm gonna about disappoint you real fast because I can't remember which one it is though. But I remember there's something important about which way rivers and creeks flow. The direction of the water flow.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, though. I can't remember what the trick is, but there's something about the direction of the water flow here in Oklahoma.
Yes. I can't remember. Yeah,
what is it? It's pretty much just follow the water.
Yeah, you can follow the water. You can do... There's a lot of things that you can learn before you go make these drastic changes on your life that could really damage you and your family. And that's the biggest one that I've heard is people that uproot and move out to those areas. They're just like, I was not ready for this. I was not ready for this kind of fucking change.
So if you were to off-grid, you gauge, where would you off-grid? Where do you think you would survive the best?
If I actually had the opportunity...
With your family and without. It might be different places.
Okay, so really I have enough knowledge to get me through a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. Especially if I got a lot of things around me. If let's say this is the apocalypse and it's time
to off-grid. We have to.
Yeah, and if I had my family with me, everybody would have a job. They would have a job to do. Everybody has to get their job done to make it work. Mm-hmm. And so my first thing would be is going around and trying to find power inverters, energy stores.
So are you picking here? House?
I'll say our house right now with our property and shit like that.
Okay, thank you.
So here in Oklahoma, I would say, well, we're right here next to a creek line. Okay, so now I'm going to go around pulling up alternators and pulling up power inverters.
And, we can literally see the creek line from our house.
Yeah, from right here where we're recording, we can see it. But so now that I've got my energy stores and my energy outputters, I'm going to build me a line that runs over to the creek, and I'm going to do a water system to where the creek's always flowing. It can always propel to create a little bit of energy. It's not going to create a lot, but it's going to give enough to where it's constant. Then my next thing would be...
a video we watched says that it's not, like, the creek flows enough for about 3 hours a day.
Yeah. And then now, that's going to be one of my alternatives. But to not use generators or fuel or any of that, now I'm going to do what we already have out here that is a fucking eyesore for a lot of people, is turbines. I'm going to build several fucking turbines to help...
You know those giant fucking industrial-sized ones? Yeah, the ones for just the house.
Yeah, you can turn your windmills into fucking energy converters. But, like, that's what I would be doing because Oklahoma's very fucking windy. We'd be able to get a lot of wind. Oregon, it would be the same way, but it would be more... I would have to find a good open area and not so many trees where I can actually place it up on a tree and get the power from up there because the wind blows on the treetops all the time. But which is going to be dangerous trying to get up there and do that. But I'm getting sidetracked. So now I have my energy that I would use without having to use a generator, without having to do any of that shit. And it would be enough to where I can store energy to re-put into the house and we'd have to cut down on how much energy we're actually using. So now it'd be opening up the windows to get the natural light and doing shit like that, making the energy that we're getting straight for our fucking refrigerator and shit like that.
When I'm crafty, so I do know how to make candles.
And same thing with the fucking water system. Like, we're running on the water grid for the city, so now I would be going around getting as much plumbing as I could to run it over or run it down to the creek and have the creek fucking naturally. I would take one of those water pumps, hook it up to a fucking wind or one of those water wheels. And
water wheel
on its own. That way it can power itself, and then fucking have it to where it pumps the water into the line, and that way it can be force fed up to the house. It's not going to be much, but it'll be low flow. We can still get a lot of
flow everything. Yeah.
Yep, and sure, it's going to be brown water and shit like that, but we can always get that fixed. We can always find ways to get that done.
It's the apocalypse, man. We'll go raid Walmart for Brita filters.
There's ways we could do it, but I mean, there's simple tricks that you can do. Like, everywhere it rains. It rains everywhere except for like deserts where it rarely rains. But when it does, collect the rainwater. Go around, find you plastic barrels. Don't use metal barrels, but plastic barrels. The plastic barrels will. You can sit there and fucking...
Yeah, don't consume rust, people.
Yeah, don't do that. That's bad. But, like, you can collect the rainwater because now that rainwater is good for you. You can boil it to drink it.
You still gotta boil it, yeah.
Yes, do boil it.
Boil your goddamn water, people.
But you can boil it. You can give it to the animals. The animals, they don't need boiled water. They're good on natural water.
Yeah, don't die of dysentery, people.
Right, but they're good for that. And then, I mean, there's ways you can do things. Go cut your wood. Go do it the old school way. Take it an axe, a handsaw and shit, so you're not having to rely on fucking or gasoline to do your shit.
This is Oklahoma, so we don't have a shit ton of trees, but there's enough for a fire. So you get out there and chop wood. I don't care where you are in the U.S. Chop some freaking wood.
There's ways to do it. Like, there's ways to create heat and all that kind of stuff for you to get by. And if anything, learn how to hunt, learn how to fucking skin, learn how to do all that stuff to go old school, old traditionals of making hides and hide blankets. And
I like how our scenario is the apocalypse. So I'm going to keep going with that. What about our listeners that live in cities?
Listeners that live in cities.
Get out.
No, you could actually stay there. You would have a lot more benefit or benefactoring things for you. Beneficial, sure. I can't do words today. But you would have a lot of beneficial things for you in big cities. Like, if the people are dwindled out, now you have opportunities to use a lot more shit. You can go to the other houses, take off the sheetrock and insulation, or just take off the sheetrock and double up your sheetrock in your house.
If you survive the riots.
Right, but if that way you can really insulate your place so you're using less heat. It actually helps out during the summertime, keeping it more cool in the place.
And that's when everybody here in Oklahoma is going to pass out.
It's
the fucking summer. We're screwed without our AC, y'all.
You're really not, because there's been families that have survived out here for many years.
I know, but
without AC, and you know what they did? They just opened up their windows, put screening on your windows, and there you go.
But a lot of people are like modernized, you know. I'm including myself in this when it comes to the AC, man.
Yes, I get that, but once you open up one
window,
you
got no choice in the apocalypse, bitch.
All you gotta do is open up a window on one end of the house and open up another window at the other end of the house, and it causes airflow. So now you're getting the place to cool down. A great way to do that is at nighttime. Open those windows at night, and it helps cool it down to where it's kind of bearable during the day. But they're like, you're gonna get used to it. You're gonna be able to get used to that kind of shit. But off-gridding, I mean, there's a lot that goes into off-gridding. A lot of fucking work, like more work than what homesteading is. Homesteading, you can use the conveniences of everyday life to make it work for you.
I think that's why a lot of homesteads fail. Is because when I've seen these ones that have failed, they've done a lot. You know, like, it's a nice sized homestead. They've built this, they've done that. I think where they start to fail is they're like, well, this homestead, we're doing so good, let's start off-gridding a few of our things, you know? Like, start cutting conveniences. Well, I think they're just, like, doing it too quickly or too at once because their homestead has done so good. And I think they're like, well, let's take all this shit off grid. And that's what I'm saying. It's totally different. Off gridding is so different from homesteading, but so many people think it's the same thing that they just completely give up once they start off gridding.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, this homesteading is so hard. It's not. The homesteading part was easy. When you decided to go off grid with your homestead is when it got hard. I'm saying, like, if you're not ready for it, it's fine to be just homesteading. That's okay.
Well, my thing is that people are not thinking before they just do it. They just
like we said earlier, selling out, like just fucking
uprooting everything and saying fuck it.
Yes.
And I think, honestly, before you decide to do this, I really want you guys to sit down and look at all the things that you have right now, everything that you use on a daily basis, and say, okay, can I be good with that? Now you might sit there and say, oh, I can go without my phone, I can go without the internet, all this and that. Yeah, literally try it in a small step.
Like, you would be surprised the things that you cannot cold turkey.
Yeah, like literally go for just 1 week without TV, without internet. Like, unplug it all.
Dude, I can't even delete Instagram off my phone. That's how bad I am.
Oh, I'm saying, like, unplug it all. Let your phone die. Like, let everything turn off for 1 week and see how you do. Because that's what it would be. People are
like, I don't have to get rid of my phone to be off grid.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, your phone is a part of the grid.
And that's all we're saying, is that if you're going to be doing it, you can do it, but try it in small doses first and see if it actually is something that you're willing to do. Because that the people that are doing this out there are people out there that are completely living off grid, that don't have any form of technology, any kind of grid system.
We are not saying not to off grid. We're not telling you to not off grid. We're just saying prepare yourselves better. Yeah. Don't uproot your entire lives on a whim. You know, like, practice first. You know, like, put a little practice into your off gridding. See if it's something that you even actually want.
Especially if you have kids, because now you're endangering your kids on something that you are.
Yes, because there's a lot of work that goes into off gridding and homesteading, and your kids are gonna have to help you do a lot of this stuff.
Yes, everybody has to play.
And it can be dangerous and stuff, like, if you're not prepared for this.
Yeah, because not only are you trying to prepare yourself, but you got to prepare your kids for the dangers out there of. Got to watch out for poison ivy, or watch out for this, watch out for that, because now they got to learn how to change their entire way of knowing of life to fit with what you're wanting to do. And that's a lot. That's a lot for a young mind to take on too.
Yeah, and your whole family has to be prepared to do this. Like, you can't make this choice for them. Like, don't do that.
And even if you don't have kids and it's just you and your old lady and all, or vice versa. Yeah, or just you. You've really got to take your time and see if this is what you want to do. A great movie about this that I watched years ago, and I absolutely love it, and it's based off of a real story. It's called Into the Wild, where this guy just hated being a part of the social world and how everything was and how his life was completely planned out. His parents had his life planned for him. Like, he was supposed to go to this college and become this when he gets older and all. So when he graduated high school, he straight up said, fuck it. And burned his social security, burned his fucking license, like, completely went off grid and started making his way up to Alaska. That's where he wanted to go.
That guy that died on the school bus.
Yes. And it was because he made a simple mistake. He had his book. He learned a lot of things from hippies and on his travel to Alaska, which was great. He was doing a lot of research as he was doing this before he just did it. And so he got to meet a lot of people, and he got to do a lot of this. And this is where a lot of this stuff comes from, is not only his diary, but the people that ran into him along the way that they found. And but he got out there and made a simple mistake. He wasn't prepared for the winter. He was prepared for normal times of the spring, summer, and all that. But when he got there, it was already winter. So now he's like, fuck. He's trying to find anything he could to survive with. And
looking in his book for all the things that should be in the area that he's at. And it's wintertime, so nothing in his little book is out there.
Yeah, and he accidentally ingested some poisonous berries, and he realized it after he did. He went reading through his book and seeing that those berries were not to be ingested. And he ended up succumbing to the poison of the fruits. And they found him about around springtime. They found him because there were people that knew he was out there.
Mm-hmm.
They knew, but they kind of left him alone. But when they hadn't seen or heard from him in a while, they went out there to check on him. That's when they found him. And yeah, it was. But it's a great movie. It's a great representation of how dangerous it could be. How simple one little mistake really just cost this person his life. But it was his dream. It was what he always wanted to do. He actually did everything that he was supposed to. He just needed a little bit more knowledge of the environment that he was in.
Yeah, and the time of year.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that's all I'm trying to say is that if you want to go off-grid, go completely off-grid. But if you're going to do it in microdoses to see if it's something that you could actually do and be comfortable with.
Try homesteading first.
Yeah, do homesteading. See if homesteading works for you, and if that much work is not enough, then you can go further.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people who want to go off-grid, like if you are completely relying on conveniences in your life, and you're like, man, this just isn't the life for me. Like, and you're thinking, like, man, I think off-gridding is my thing. I think I want to, like, be away from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Just try homesteading first. That might scratch that itch that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
If it did for us, that's exactly what we needed.
That one that was talking about where it was, like, very, very fancy fucking homestead.
Oh, my God, yeah.
We fucking hated that one. It was like, that is not off-grid at all. It's a very fancy homestead.
It is a beautiful homestead. My God, that cabin was gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. But if you have to have a Keurig in your fucking place, you're not off the grid.
It wasn't even a Keurig. It was a whole ass fucking espresso machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those single pod fucking espressos.
Yes. It like the little Keurig brand, but it's like that little espresso thing that you put in through the front with a little handle.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you have a fucking espresso machine.
Yeah, but it was one of those that you use the single pod for.
Oh,
and,
it was?
Yeah, and that's why I was like, well, then you're not off grid because now you got to go to the town.
Yeah, you got to go to Walmart and get those, or you got to get like they're like, oh, that's what we were saying. Like, will they buy their shit online?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they get it delivered to them.
Yeah, and that's
off gridding to these people.
That is not off gridding. That's just fancy homesteading, and
like,
that's
do you
fine.
know that people like you do that? People who are listening to our podcast right now,
mm-hmm.
you order shit online and it gets delivered to your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently to these people, you're living off grid, buddy.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're still part of a society.
Yes, if you're ordering shit online, if you got a regular delivery from your online order, that's still on the grid, my guy.
Mm-hmm. So just realize you're just homesteading. That's all we're saying. You're not off grid. If you're off grid, we would never see your videos. We would never see anything like that.
Now
you can live life with less amount of things, and you're good.
There is an off-grid video we watched of this old man, and the only reason we could watch the video is because he had a neighbor who would come and help him when he needed to build something, because he's old. So there's obviously some things he's a little bit too fragile to do on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So he hired his neighbor boy to come over and help him. Well, the neighbor boy apparently videos a lot of the stuff that he helps the old man do and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how his off-grid videos get posted, is because his neighbor is videoing them.
Yeah, and my thing that I really liked about that was that he used the water wheel as his main source. He had a backup generator and he also had solar panels, but they were not the main priority.
Yeah, his water wheel was his main source of energy.
Mm-hmm. Those were his backups in case something happened. If he needed to fix something on the water wheel and it was going to be down for a few days.
Because if your solar panel breaks, you have to get the solar people to come fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not an off-grid thing to me.
No. And even if you have the knowledge of doing it, well, now you've got to travel into a town to fucking get it.
Yeah, you still have to go get the parts.
Yeah.
That's not something you can just make.
Yeah, and that's unlike a water wheel or a turbine.
Yeah, he literally made his water wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I did notice that he did talk about in his videos. Well, not on purpose, but just like you noticed it immediately,
mm-hmm.
or at least I did, is that when you are off-gridding, everything you do to live off of needs tweaking and working on every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just set it and it's done and you're good.
Yeah.
You have to go and check on it, see
mm-hmm.
how it's doing. Is it rusting? Did a piece of it fall apart? You know, like over the night. You know, like because the kid came and helped him put it together, and then he came back 2 weeks later to check on him, see how it was doing.
No, it was a little bit longer.
It was a little bit longer.
Yeah, it was like a few months.
Okay, well, he came back to check on him, and he was saying like 3 days after they had put it together, some kind of
it was a year later after they built it.
It was a whole year after?
Yeah, it was a year later.
Okay, well,
then they started seeing, but he still had issues within that year with the water wheel.
Yeah, like bolts had fallen off, or things had been rubbed too much, or he'd had to rebuild a lot of things. He'd had to work on it again and again and again over that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't one that you can just set and forget. Like you have to do
that's
continuous maintenance on things.
Yeah, and that kid that was building everything on his own too, and all that. He said that like all his generators and stuff, he changes the oil on them every month.
Mm-hmm. Which is insane to most people, but like you can find ways to reuse that oil later on. You can find ways to siphon it, to reuse it, and
you were thinking of something like recycling it, and I would just like repurpose it, like put it on a piece of wood and it makes a great fire, or it can grease something, or like you can use oil for anything.
Oh yeah. You don't have to throw it away. There's people that have figured out how to fucking turn it into diesel.
Yeah, you were thinking recycle. You were thinking that right there. I'm just like, whoa, I would have never even thought of recycling oil because like we don't have the big machines to do it and all kind of stuff. But there are off-grid ways to recycle oil and turn it into like diesel fuel, or clean the oil. You can actually clean the oil. It's a long fucking process, but you can reuse oil.
Yep. But honestly, guys, that's all we're trying to say on this episode, is that if you want to go off-grid, don't do it drastically. Try to do it in small doses.
Small doses. Like, start with homesteading, because if you're going to be off-grid, all the things you learn in homesteading, you're going to have to do that off-grid. Like raising your own gardens, your own chickens, all this kind of stuff.
Well, and a good way to practice, guys, is how much time you spend on your phone. Literally, keep track of how much time you spend on watching Reels or Facebook or anything like that.
There actually is a health thing in your phone that tells you all that.
Right. And then
I have notifications on my phone.
And then actually start doing that. Like, say, okay, well, I'm spending this much time on it. Well, how about if I just go 2 days without touching my phone and only use it for phone calls and stuff like that?
Yeah, phones,
but just straight up, like, get rid of that and then see what else I can do. Use that time for something else. And if you can't go that long, then that just shows that you're not for it. It's okay.
And if you're sitting here thinking, well, I don't want to get rid of, like, even if I off-gridded, I don't want to completely get rid of my phone, because, like, what if I need to call for emergencies or something like that? Downgrade. Get a cheap emergency phone that's just for, like, calling people or texting. Like, their phone, like, old school flip phones, I don't know. Can you still even hook those up? Yeah, you can. It's like you can buy them at Walmart still. Yep. I was going to get my daughter one.
Yep. But there's like, if you're sitting around watching TV so much, like, you got to show that you're just like binge watching. Instead of binge watching, turn it off. Turn it off your TV for a week and just do something else.
Yeah, I was like, I was going to say, don't just sit there and stare at an empty screen. Do something. Like, be productive.
Find ways to be productive, and if it's really not for you, it is okay. We understand. We're not sitting here saying you have to, but
yeah, we're just talking to people who want to do this.
But
if you think you want to do this stuff,
then once you see how much you've done in that week with no TV or cell phone or whatever you're doing, and you're being productive, then be like, well, maybe I want to do something. Maybe I want to do a little garden. Maybe I want to do some animals or do a homestead. That's fine, but you just got to see if you actually can mentally handle it. Like, we do our podcast and we watch movies, we do all this stuff, but we find those are our downtimes. Those are times that we're just like, okay, like, we record early in the morning, that way we can get out there to do the rest of the shit.
We have all day to do stuff. That's why we record early.
And it's a mixture of times, but we usually record in the morning so we can be like, okay, we're done here. Let's get out there and do that, and then I can edit the next day and find ways to be productive. But there's all different kinds of things you can do to test to see if you're able to do this. And
like, if you want to start off real slow, like, say, like, you really want to garden, but you're still living modernly and all that kind of stuff. You don't have a homestead to do it in. Do like a tabletop little herb garden. Like, grow you some rosemary, grow you some parsley, seasonings that you actually use around your house, all that kind of stuff. Like, try growing them on a tabletop little fucking raised garden.
And a way you can do a raised garden is, like, I know people are like, well, that's a lot of money on wood. Go around and ask for free broken pallets or free pallets, any of that. People will give away pallets. Then all you need is a hammer, a claw hammer, and a handsaw. Then you just cut down to the size that you want, and pull the boards off, the planks off, put them closer together so they can hold the dirt in a lot better. And you may even have to use some a little bit of tarp, depending on where you're at, to hold the dirt in a lot more. But now you built your frame out of just pallets.
I'm talking about people who aren't even in an area they can do homesteading at yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about people who might be renting, right, currently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like maybe they do want to stop renting and go buy something and then homestead. But before they get rid of everything about living deep in the city or modernly or anything, like, maybe try it and see if you can even like it, you know?
A good way to do that is start getting plants.
Yeah.
Get some plants and see if you can actually take care of them and maintain them all the time.
I was well, that's why I said, like, herbs and stuff. Because you can, like, get a little pot with, like, some like, rosemary. Like, you can buy them at Walmart in the organic section. You can buy a growing rosemary bush or a parsley plant or anything like that, and you can just grow them right there in your tabletop.
No, that's all I'm saying. Is just like start out small, but start out with something that needs a lot of maintenance to see if you can keep it alive.
That's why I said herbs, because it produces. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you can take a piece from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, but don't get and do your research. Don't get the plants that need a little bit of maintenance. Get plants that need a lot of maintenance, so you can actually see if it's something you can do. Because this is something that does take a lot.
Yeah, I've known plenty of people who have grown tomatoes right there on their kitchen table.
Mm-hmm. So, honestly, guys, we really appreciate that you've been here for this episode. Hopefully you learned a lot, and hopefully it made you really think before you go act, because that's what we want you to do. We don't want you to go and uproot and change your life and it not work out for you, and now you're in a lot more debt or out a lot more than what you had. So just think ahead, guys. Really plan it out and see if it's for you. And if it's not, it is okay. It is okay to enjoy those people that can do it, and just follow them, support them if you want to. Like, hit them up and be like, hey, I want to donate to your place because I think that what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah, like us.
Right. We would love any help that we can get, but we're not here asking for it because we can do it on our own.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We are trying to get things set up to where we can do some recordings and stuff. If you would like to see things of our homestead and stuff, you can go and follow us over on the Calling Couple Podcast. TikTok is where we post a lot of our homestead videos. It's a little easier for us, but we will be trying to get some more stuff like that. If you guys want to see it, please let us know. I'll try to throw some videos here and on our episodes so you can kind of keep up with how we're doing. But if you want to see more of that, you can just follow us over on TikTok, get a lot more stuff out of it, because that's where I'm going to be posting a lot more of our shit. So, other than that, baby, you got anything that you want to talk about? You got anything that you want to add? How's Cricket doing?
He's snoozing on my feet.
He got popped in the eye yesterday from the cat.
Yeah. I was not here when that happened.
Got him right in the eyeball, and hopefully he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. He just needs a couple days. A little cat scratch fever, that's all.
Yeah, he'll be all right. But other than that, guys, man, if you got some stories that you want to tell us, if you got some survival tips that you feel that people should know, let us know. TikTok already kind of does that for us, and I fucking hate that I'm 33 years old and I'm learning shit that I should have fucking known when I was little, but TikTok's ruining me. Other than that, guys, be safe out there. Enjoy the fucking holidays. Don't uproot your lives to go follow a dream that you're not really prepared for. And if you are, go all out. Don't half-ass it. Fucking go balls to the walls.
Do your research first.
Nut in your mouth and all that.
Oh, my God.
All right. Seriously, guys, have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. Live life to the fullest.
Good God.